thanks everyone for being here. We're doing today a very special recording of the Behind the Badge podcast. We have already done some episodes before. You might have heard it on your preferred podcast platform. And I'm Fernando Noodt. I'm from SBC Noticias, and I'm joined, like he very well said, sponsorship director George Harborne. George, how are you enjoying Rio?
I look phenomenal city. I've been to Brazil a few times now and love the country. Rio is something I think you just have to experience it, right? There's no other place like it in the world, I'm sure. But yeah, so far fantastic, and the event's been phenomenal as well. Very, very well attended. I think even probably better than we thought it was going to be. So yeah, it's been fantastic so far.
Do you have your sunscreen on?
Not today because we're inside, but yeah, rest assured, factor 50 has been getting applied.
You better watch that skin, George. But that's enough about George and his skin health. Let's talk about Coritiba. Thank you very much, Arnaldo, for being with us today. And well, we like to get things started at the Behind the Badge podcast by asking you, how did you first come to work in the sports industry, and of course in Coritiba as well?
Okay, thank you, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the invitation again. It's a pleasure to be here, to see old friends here. So it's been a nice journey to be here. And only to tell you a little bit my background, I've been working on the sports industry for more than 10 years. I started working for Octagon, Brazil, when the agency came to Brazil to leave the gold decade with the Confederations Cup, FIFA World Cup, Olympic Games. And I stayed there for more than 12 years, so which was a huge journey there. But I worked for huge sports events such as Confederations Cup and FIFA World Cup, Olympic Games, always working for the brand side. So my role there, it was to work with brands that were sponsoring these huge events and helping the brands how they could activate better their brands in these events. And then last year, I received the invitation to be part of Coritiba process to be the CRO, and I decided to leave Octagon and start this new journey. Very exciting journey, and I moved to work as a CRO of Coritiba because of the project itself. It's a very big project. It's a private club, so I decided to make this change to see the other side of the table. I was working with brands, and now I'm working with a club, and for sure that my role there is to help brands to for sure sponsor Coritiba and help them to activate their brands together with Coritiba.
And do you find that experience that you had at Octagon of working kind of brand side has probably better equipped you to go into the sales side at a rights holder and kind of know what you know the journey that you're trying to take a brand on, but from a sales perspective instead? Has that been valuable experience to you so far at Coritiba?
Yes, for sure. I think for example, the whole segment, the football segment, we have not the obligation, but we need to help the brands how they can create better journeys for their consumer together with our our crowd, let's say like that, because we know the club, we know our fans, and we need to help the brands to in how they can better connect with our fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess for you to have moved from Octagon after 12 years, clearly you would have enjoyed your time at Octagon, all the rest of it. So for you to have moved to Curitiba, that project has to be really compelling. And I guess that brings us on to the first subject that I kind of wanted to explore with you, which is the transition at the moment, the change that's taking place in Brazilian football around private ownership, that move from socios to private ownership for some of the clubs. Can you talk us through, I guess, kind of at a top level, what's kind of happening overall, and then a little bit more specifically about what that private investment is unlocking for Curitiba, investment in facilities and that sort of thing?
Yeah, for sure. This is a huge movement that it's happening in the Brazilian football. So a lot of clubs are being bought by, in our case, a private company, for a huge financial groups. And I think this is very important for the Brazilian football. I see this as a huge revolution for the football and for the commercial product itself. So it's very nice to see this movement. For sure that this will increase the market a lot. So you can see a lot of new clubs now will become what we say in Brazil, that it's a private company. And in Curitiba, the company that bought Curitiba, that it's a traditional company called Tricorp, that has a lot of investments in another companies, decided to buy Curitiba. And as I told, the planning is very strong. We are going to rebuild to build a new training facilities, new one for the club, bigger than the one that we have right now. We are going to rebuild the stadium that is Couto Pereira. We are going to rebuild. And all of this we are doing because the project itself, it's very, very strong. And it's not like it's a long-term project. We need to take a look at we call the project 2030. So we are structuring right now the product to have the better results in the near future. So it's for me it's good to see all of this movement that it's happening. It's a more professional segment right now in Brazil, which is good for all of the different stakeholders.
And of course, as from your role, you have been a key part of this transformation of how you approach the different brands, and how do you well, of course, like what focus or what kind of approach do you have with each brand? I like for you to explain how do you take this approach. Sorry for repeating the word that much, but how do you do it, and what do you focus? Do you focus the club, the which type of properties, the club, the stadium, and having such a fan base? How do you look into that?
It's a good question. So when we arrived, we saw we needed to make a completely change in all of the commercial properties. Not only in the pricing aspect, but also in what we were giving for all of the different sponsors. So we need this change. And I think the way we approach, we tell our project. I think it's nice to show the project to the brands, to the market, because it's a very solid project. And this is nice because everyone see with good eyes. And it's important for us to show to the potential partners that it's a long-term project, which is good. So we do that, and now we have like two big commercial assets. We have one that it's our stadium, that's the Couto Pereira Stadium. That since we are going to rebuild the stadium, in the future we are going to sell properties such as naming rights, sector rights, whatever. And also we have this second commercial asset that is the club. We sell the properties of the club, the jersey, I mean, all of the properties related to the club. So we are trying to build this a good speech with the market in reconnecting to the market, because Curitiba was there in the south of Brazil, and I mean, it was it was forgotten there, and now we are trying to reconnect to the market again.
And you mentioned the investment that's taking place in kind of physical assets, into the stadium, into rebuilding that, into training facilities. In order to create that brand journey, that brand connection, is there focus on investing internally as well, data and things like that? Where do you guys sit on that sort of stuff?
Yes, for sure. We are working with a lot of different companies to help them to try to understand much better our fans, our consumer. So the idea is to invest a lot of money in innovation and technology. Innovation and technology are pillars of our project. And for sure, we are going to work and understand. We need to understand better our consumer, our fans.
Absolutely. And you're talking about kind of that in the investment that's come in and how that's getting you to reset the commercial properties across the club and reevaluate everything. And while that's happening at a club level, it's also taking place potentially at a league level as well, right? There's the conversations ongoing at the moment about the requirement, in order to commercialize Brazilian football better, to potentially create a new league structure. Do you want to give us a little bit of an overview of what's taking place there? I know I'm asking you to do a lot there because there's a lot of moving parts to that, but it's a fascinating thing to see and hear about in Brazil.
So, as you know, we are discussing. All of the clubs are discussing to create this new league, which is a huge movement to the market, to the brands, to everyone. It will be a huge commercial asset. And this is a discussion that we are also having with brands, because sometimes some of the brands, they ask, why do I need to sponsor the club, since maybe in 2 years, 1 year, we are going to be able to sponsor the whole league? How we're going to work? And I mean, this is a very frequent discussion that everyone is having. And again, I think it's great to the segment, to the sports industry in Brazil, especially in football, because it will become even bigger that if you compare right now.
Yeah, no, we spoke previously about that the international broadcast rights for Brazilian football just isn't as strong as it should be, given the quality of the league and the size and strength of the clubs that perform in it. So it'd be really interesting to see how that commercial entity, that league entity, could help to propel the growth of Brazilian football internationally. I think that's a really important factor that kind of weighs into this. And speaking of broadcast rights, how time sensitive are these discussions now? Because my understanding is that the broadcast deal is up at the end of this year, and that kind of is the catalyst, I guess, to be able to make this happen. Because if that's missed, then you're in another cycle. So how does that impact the planning that everybody's trying to do around this?
This is a tricky question. I mean, all of the CEOs and presidents of the clubs, they know about this information. They're trying to work in the time they have available right now. So, I mean, a lot of discussions have been made, and new ones will happen. But I mean, I think by the end of the day, everyone knows that it will be better for everyone to have this league. If not right now, but I mean, in a couple of years, I believe everyone already understood, but now they need to be at the same table to discuss how it will be this huge negotiation that is happening right now.
And we have the whole Brazilian betting industry right next door. So President Lula da Silva passed the new regulation. Now regulation is being discussed, like how do you enforce this regulation? How does a club, from your perspective, how does a club consider this new segment coming into the business?
I think it's I'm talking because I can explain about my perspective. I work for a private company that bought the Curitiba, and now I work for Curitiba for sure. But I mean, I think it's very good for the industry when you have this type of regulation, because you can bring more. I mean, it's good for everyone, or for all of the stakeholders. I believe the betting industry, it's a huge partner for football in Brazil. So it was a good thing that the government did. And this regulation was important even for us, because we made a very good deal only why the regulation come, because we were talking with different sports betting brands. It was tough because everyone was expecting the regulation, and as soon as the regulation came, all of the sporting betting, they again started to discuss new partnerships with different clubs, and even with us, we made this deal a couple of months ago.
Do you I think it's probably fair to say that over the last couple of years, sponsorship from the gambling sector has just ballooned in Brazil. Do you think that with regulation, that growth could potentially continue, or do you think that's going to plateau and decline? Where do you think that's going to go?
It's difficult to say. I believe it will be a more solid segment, and for sure that will continue to be the most important one to the football industry, especially here in Brazil. And I believe with this regulation, with the potential creation of the league, it will be very interesting to see the betting industry competing to take the best football assets. Now you can see, for example, Copa do Brasil have different betting brands showing in the same tournament, which is the segment understood that they can be at the same property. Thing that it is in Brazil, it's almost funny to see, because a couple of years ago it was impossible to see two brands from the same segment being in the same commercial property. But now I think the segment understood, and so it will be a very interesting competition between the betting brands.
Well, certainly, look, we've seen that take place in other markets. Traditionally in the European markets in football, you'll see Premier League clubs with multiple betting partners, and even in the States, you see some of the sports organizations over there with their different segments of where people are focused on and how they're going to activate them. Moving on to activation, and one thing that comes up a lot in Europe, but I don't know that it's as prevalent in Brazil and LATAM yet, is around kind of safer gambling and educating people around the dangers of gambling. How important is that messaging to the activation of these partnerships? Is that something that's coming into greater focus at the moment?
No, it's a good question. Now the regulation is being continued to have more details about all of this, but for sure that we have the responsibility to tell especially our betting partner to do the right thing. I mean, to how they can communicate to the community, our community, the way that you can put, how can I say, I don't know if the word is that, but a good gambling. I mean, because this is part of the regulation, and we as a club, for sure that we need to follow the exactly rules about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I think we're about ready with our time slot. But Arnaldo, genuine thanks for joining us. It's been a real pleasure. Yeah, Fernando.
No, just wanted to ask Arnaldo, what are your expectations for the season? Because
That's
of course,
that's
I
a
mean,
very good question.
we can't have a football club representative
This is
here
true.
and not ask him about football.
No, this is true.
Yeah, no, we have a lot of expectation about the season. I think the most important objective for Coritiba is to come back to the Serie A. So this is our main objective. For sure that my objective as a CRO is to bring more business to the club.
I think that's a very sensible answer. And what we don't want you to do is start to jinx the season before it's even started, because that can happen, right?
Exactly. We hope we can be a lucky charm here at SBC
Exactly.
and the Behind the Bat podcast. And Arnaldo, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you. Cheers.